Hi everybody. Okay, let's talk about getting your driver's license in Sweden. So, I moved to Sweden when I was between 25 and 26 years old, and I got my driver's license in the Netherlands when I was 21 years old. Now, obviously, I don't have experience getting my driver's license here in Sweden, but I know a little bit about it by talking to people. So what are the differences? Well, hands down, the biggest difference between getting your driver's license in Holland and Sweden is that in Sweden, a family member is allowed to teach you how to drive in their private car. Everybody knows that lives in the Netherlands. You have to pay for lessons and a professional teaches you how to drive. So if you move to Sweden and take your children with you, and they get to learn, and they come to the age that they start wanting to learn to drive, you can teach your children how to drive. But it isn't as easy as just jumping in a car and start driving. No, you have to be certified first. And apparently this is a pretty easy process. I'm not sure where you go to do that, but I think as a parent or somebody, you don't have to be the parent, you can be anybody. Anybody with a driver's license can apply to become a teacher. And this application process is actually pretty easy. If you haven't made any big mistakes in traffic and you have your driver's license, it shouldn't be hard for you to become a teacher. So once you become a teacher, you buy a sticker or a magnet that you put on your car that says Advanture, or that translates to student driver. Now in Holland you get lessons by a professional and every lesson costs money. So obviously the Swedish method is cheaper, but it isn't for free. In Sweden you still need to do a few lessons that you get from an actual teaching driver. And that is to make sure that you get everything right. How many lessons this is kind of depends on yourself, how good you are at driving. Kind of like in Holland. Some people get their driver's license in a week back in Holland, or some people, take actual years. But in Sweden, you also have to do some actual lessons. You can't get all the lessons from a family member or a friend. Now, just like in Holland, in Sweden, you also have to do a theoretical exam. You have to pass the theory test, answer questions on an exam about traffic rules and laws, and if you pass that, you have your theoretical part done. And then there's also, just like in Holland, a practical exam where you start driving around with a certified exam person and they will judge your driving and see if you are okay to get a driver's license. But there is one thing that Sweden does and Holland doesn't that is a big deal. In Sweden they do something that's called the halkbana. I forget the English word, but it's one of those tracks where you learn how to control your car when your car goes into a slide. And that makes sense, right? Because Sweden is a more northern country. We have longer winters here, it's colder, there's more snow and ice. So it makes sense that you have to learn how to control your car when you go into a slide. And this is something you must do before you can get your driver's license in Sweden. Now, does this mean that if you move from Holland to Sweden that you need to do that to be able to be allowed to drive here? No. If you have a Dutch driver's license, it's considered a European driver's license and you can just use it here. I would say for safety and for yourself, why don't you do a course like that? But it's not necessary to drive here. Unless you're getting your driver's license in Sweden, then you are obligated to do that slip and slide course with your car. I actually did it. Work paid for it because with my work I have to drive around the inmates, and I'm only allowed to do that when I've done that course. And it was so much fun. It was a lot of fun. So why not do it yourself just for the fun, you know? Okay, just got home. I was getting a little bit cold out there, so I'll do the rest of the video inside. Right, back inside in the warmth, and I actually went to my computer and Googled some things for you to make sure I'm telling you the right information. So, to be able to teach your student or your child to drive, you need to apply to become a teacher. But also, your student needs to apply to get to be allowed to learn to drive. So, what do you need to become a teacher? Well, you need to at least be 24 years old. Your student needs to have to done an introduction course into driving in the last 5 years, and you need a European driver's license. Also, the car you are doing it in needs to be your car or a car you are allowed to use by its owner. Now, if you want more information about this, you can go to the website of Transportstyrelse right here. I will also put it in the description if I remember. But let's talk about what I think about these systems, right? So, a big advantage of the Swedish system is that it's a lot cheaper to get your driver's license, because you get to learn so much about driving without actually having to pay for lessons. But in my opinion, and I'm sorry for saying this, Swedish drivers are worse drivers than Dutch people. I'm sorry. Don't kill me. Yeah, I think that getting a professional driver to teach you how to drive a car probably results in a better driver than somebody that's just, has a driver's license. Not to say that all Swedish people are worst drivers or bad drivers. I can just tell a little bit of a difference. I don't know what system is better than the other. It's just, the Swedish system makes sense for Sweden because Sweden is such a big country. The distances between driving schools and people are going to be larger, and therefore it's going to be easier to learn to drive from, a friend or a family member. And also, since Sweden is such a large place and there isn't as much traffic, they can get away with people being taught in a less professional way, There's not as much traffic around to have accidents with. But yeah, I hope this information was helpful to you. Like I said, I haven't ever had to do driving lessons in Sweden, except for the one course where you get to lose traction with your car and have to get control back. So do your own investigation. Go to that Transportstyrelse website and read up on everything. But there is a button at the top of the website that helps you read it in English. But I hope this was helpful information. I am rambling, I notice. Hey, I just want to interrupt myself by thanking you, because you are special. You are a person that actually watches videos to the end. And that is awesome. That helps me so much when people watch videos to the end. It tells YouTube that my videos are interesting. So thank you. You are awesome. Well, with that said, see you all next time. Bye! YouTube says you might enjoy this video. Go ahead and give it a try.